Welcome to the Halliwell Manor. I'm Max.
And I'm Tina.
And we're here to discuss Season 6, Episode 17 of Charmed.
Hyde School Reunion.
Okay, so this is an episode where it's a Phoebe episode.
Oof.
It's a Phoebe episode about a high school reunion. It's a Phoebe episode about a high school reunion that involves Phoebe casting a spell that turns herself back into a teenager.
Yeah, so it has Alyssa Milano acting like a teenager.
There are so many strikes against this episode right out of the gate, and yet it is such a good episode of Charmed.
It is surprisingly good, but I'm sorry, back up.
Yes.
You think being a high school reunion episode is a strike against it? I love high school reunion episodes.
Okay, the weird thing is Charmed is kind of 2 for 2 on the high school reunion thing. Like, the one with Piper's high school reunion where she got possessed by the Gollum spirit or whatever it was, Coyote Piper, also seemed like it was going to be genuinely awful. Hey, does anyone remember Coyote Ugly?
I do. I think about it all the time. No. Wait, I'm sorry. I feel like you might think I'm being sarcastic. I need to be totally, serious here. Coyote Ugly is, one of my Roman empires. I think about it all the time. About how it's this weird pseudo-feminist movie about how, if guys are going to be terrible, we're just going to use that to our advantage and take money from them.
I mean, they're actual bars. Like, Coyote Ugly was an actual bar. I read a book by a woman who auditioned at it. We mentioned this in the first time we talked about that episode. But they're a real thing.
Right.
I'm assuming not anymore. I assume they died in the wave of millennial apathy that also killed the restaurant as a concept.
Yeah, but I'm assuming that any politicization that was in the script is not present in the reality of the bar itself.
Probably not.
And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that is in there too. Maybe it is a bunch of women doing it for themselves at the bar too. But I don't know. The movie was weird because the movie, when it came out and every moment between then and now, it's been like, oh yeah, wanted to be showgirls, but it wasn't campy enough and didn't show enough skin. It was basically to showgirls what Hooters is to strip bars, right? Restaurant is the right analogy. But I actually feel like there was an interesting idea underneath that script. I haven't seen it since I was in high school. Maybe I'm really, really wrong, but I think about it a lot. So to answer your question, does anybody remember Coyote Ugly? The answer is at least one person, and she's on this couch with you.
To use the parlance of great news, something that's stronger than a bar, but not all the way to strip club.
Yes.
By the way, is Great News still on Netflix? Because if you haven't watched Great News, you should watch it. If you're a, fan of Tina Fey shows, but you don't like the more aggressively Tina Fey aspects of them, you will like Great News.
I do believe it is on Netflix, yes.
Still. It used to be.
I believe it came back.
Okay, good, because everything's just cycling so much, and it's nah. Well, that's the... Let's talk about Charmed. We're very, very far off.
Let's reminisce about a time when we were in mid-stage capitalism and not quite to late-stage capitalism yet.
So, now that Piper has discovered that she is pregnant...
Wait, no! You don't like High School Reunion episodes?
Not really. I mean, other than Charmed, do you think of them as a good thing?
Okay, so I'm just thinking about TV shows that have had them. Bones has a great one.
That's the one where we find out her high school janitor was Freddy Krueger, right?
That is correct. Honestly, I'm actually having trouble coming up with any more because basically I'm thinking about movies I loved that were High School Reunion movies, right?
Well, that's a
Romy
different
and
animal.
Michelle, it's a classic.
That god-awful John Cusack
Grosse
movie.
Point Blank, amazing soundtrack.
So boring. A movie can have a great soundtrack and be mega boring. Also,
The After Party?
Okay, The After Party is great, but again, it's different if it's a property about a high school reunion. Like, a high school reunion movie is different than, like, the Friends episode where everyone thinks that Chandler's gay and Ross died.
Okay, but that's not a high school reunion episode.
Yeah, that's not a high school... Did Friends not do a high school reunion episode?
I don't think they did, no.
That's weird, because I feel like they brushed up against that several times, but I think you're right. I think they might not.
Yeah, they never did, which is weird, because they love to put Monica in that super problematic fat suit. It would have been...
Ugh, yeah, that would have been perfect excuse for it. Oh, God, what did... okay, 30 Rock had a good high school reunion episode.
Yes! Come on, that one was amazing.
That one is amazing. Okay, but Baywatch. Baywatch had 2.
Wait, you can't...
Yes, I know. I can't say there aren't good episodes of Baywatch. Okay, fair.
How I Met Your Mother had a good... It was a college reunion, but that makes sense. Yeah, I met in college. The college reunion episode.
I don't remember that one, and I'm not revisiting How I Met Your Mother. I guess I'll believe you that it exists. I don't know. It feels like a really tired stock plot, but I guess I can't really think of many bad examples of it, so, you know, there you go, I guess.
Thank you. I feel like I have proven my point. Okay, now we can talk about this episode.
Yes. So, since Piper found out last episode, I guess she got pregnant last episode, immediate time jump because Holly Marie Combs was very sick of hiding her pregnancy, one can assume. Mm-hmm. So it's like 5 months into the pregnancy now, which, I don't know, feels kind of weird to have a time jump apropos of nothing. But, I mean, sure, yeah.
Why not?
We've jumped 5-ish months ahead so that the TV show has caught up with how pregnant Holly Marie Combs actually was at the time.
Mm-hmm. Paige is flipping through Phoebe's yearbook so that we, the audience, can get all the exposition we need about the high school reunion. She sees the attractive senior or whatever and is like, ooh, I wonder what he's up to. And Piper's like, I wonder if he's even alive. Paige says, what kind of high school did Phoebe go to? And I'm like, ooh, Sunnydale.
Yeah. Oof.
No, but really, this does kind of imply that Phoebe was at one of those last chance high schools and not the same one that Piper and Prue went to.
Yeah, Piper does talk about it. She talks about how Phoebe ran with a bad crowd. She was a bad kid. She did bad things, and she was in a gang, but not a drive-by gang, but whatever's between high school bullies and an actual gang. She was part of that. I really like that they're bringing back something they dropped almost immediately.
Which is that she was a problem child?
Yeah, because as we talked about in the early episodes, the thing about Phoebe is that Phoebe was the bad sister, but the story starts when she's already trying to get back into everyone's good graces. Mm-hmm. So
and bad seems so harsh. She was just like the young rebellious sister.
Yeah. She was always fighting with Grams. She ran away to... God, when was the last time we got the chance to reference this? She used to live in New York.
She lived in New York.
She ran away from home to... Well, I guess... She ran away from home to try to find their dad, someone they were all on very bad terms with. I just... that was, of course, pre-new dad.
Yeah, not this Victor.
But it is kind of cool to see them go back to this, to go back to Phoebe as this rebellious kid who made a lot of mistakes, to put her in the place that we were at the beginning of the show, where Prue and to a lesser degree Piper kind of didn't trust her.
Well, it's interesting that you said that when the show starts, she's trying to make amends, because she's really concerned about how she's going to seem to people at her reunion. I don't want to call out... It's a good episode. I don't want to call out logical inconsistencies, but aren't you famous now?
Okay, I do...
Oh! The other two!
Yes. It's the bit from the other two where...
The Amazing High School Reunion episode of the other two?
Yes, the Amazing High School Reunion episode of the other two.
But yeah, it's like it doesn't matter what you were like in high school as long as you get to come back and be the most famous one.
Although, I mean, this is basically... Her high school reunion experience is basically Leela's Orphanarium reunion experience in Futurama, where for some people, it doesn't matter how well you do in life. You're always going to be the fuck-up kid that they know from fucking up back when you were kids.
Sure.
As the mean blonde lady in this episode says, we fit in our evil blonde quota.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the rest of San Francisco might see you as Ask Phoebe, but to us, you'll always be Freebie.
Oh, yeah, the way that Ron couldn't get any respect at his high school reunion in the amazing high school reunion episode of Party Down. I'm just rubbing it in at this point. I'm just like spiking the ball.
Yes, there are a lot of really good high school reunion episodes of TV shows.
But the point I was making is that Phoebe, she's complaining that the red dress she was going to wear is stained from demon fighting. And when Paige suggests she wear like a cute, sexy black skirt suit that she wears to the office, so it's probably shows way too much skin. Side note. Phoebe says she doesn't want to wear black because black is too close to the like emo punk, leather, rebellious kid thing, goth kid thing that she was doing in high school. Like even a sleek black suit, she's like, oh no, I can't. People will judge me. Although if she was like known for being promiscuous. Which is not a thing women should have to be ashamed of, by the way. Just throwing that out there. Maybe no red either, Phoebe.
Yeah.
If that's what you're worried about.
Yeah, like red is one of those. Why don't you find a nice mauve suit if this is what you're concerned about?
Yeah, just go into Piper's wardrobe. I'm sure she'll have something sufficiently bland.
Wow. Harsh. But yes, Piper is the person who gets to wear all the real people clothes in this show. So, plus, she had that very attractive collection of throwovers from when she was trying to hide when she was pregnant.
Exactly! There you go!
Speaking of Piper being pregnant, Chris Orb's in. And he is a Cole in season 4 ass mess. Like, he's running from demons. He's run afoul of a bunch of... His underworld contacts have turned on him, which makes sense because it doesn't really make sense that he had underworld contacts in the first place.
Nope.
But yeah, a bunch of acid-spitting lizardy demons are after him.
So he just came back to the manor because he needs to get a cloaking spell from the book. And Piper's like, I'm your mom, let me help you. And he's like, no, Mom, I don't need your help. And he runs upstairs.
And Piper's like, why does my son hate me? And Paige is like, he doesn't hate you. He's just got a lot on his mind, what with the being from the future or whatever. Why don't you have Leo talk to him? And Piper's like, no, I don't want to bother Leo. He's being an elder full time now, and I don't want to bug him with this. Is Leo not aware of the Chris situation?
He is not, and he doesn't know that Piper is pregnant.
Okay, I thought being an elder meant that you were, like, always watching over everyone in a cosmic creeper way. I was going to say cosmic but not creepy way, but, I mean, come on. Like...
I mean, so did I. Remember when they had to, like really secretly plan out the wedding?
Yeah.
Because the elders couldn't know about it, and they had to be very, very circumspect about it.
Yeah.
And now it's just, like... She's just walking around there, growing a full other human inside of her. And Leo's just up in White Lighter Land like, la la la, I have no idea.
I don't know that my ex-wife is pregnant. I know we can't. Every episode we can't get into it.
We relitigate this every week.
So, instead of Leo, we're going to go to a different dad well. Speaking of dads, Victor's back. It's the one time per season that, Victor comes back. So they're going to see if Victor can fix Piper's relationship with Chris. I mean, I've heard dumber ideas.
Yeah, that's a fine idea.
So Phoebe runs in with a white dress, which I think is an equally bad idea.
Because it looks like a freaking wedding dress.
Yeah.
But when she runs in, she sees her yearbook lying on the bed, right? Paige and Piper just hightailed it out of there because Piper is feeling morning sickness.
She sees a shitty teenage poem she'd written.
Why'd she write in her own yearbook?
Because she didn't have friends, because she was a bad girl.
Okay.
She had to write "Have a great summer" under all of those pictures.
Oh.
But yeah, she had a poem about, no one understands me, Grams. I'm going to run away to New York, Grams. I'm going to be a teenager forever. And I'm sorry, at this point in your witching career, You should know better than to read out a rhyming couplet.
I mean... Yeah, I guess so.
We are in season 6.
Yeah.
This is a season 2 ass mistake, at best.
So basically, Phoebe accidentally casts a spell on herself. We see her briefly flash back to her high school self, and then we go to credits.
I am the sun, I am the air. Unless you're not watching this on DVD, because on all of the streaming stuff, it has the filler thing they got because they lost the music rights. It's weird that we've watched, and I've watched on my own, so much of Charmed with the fill-in song over the credits, and yet I see the credits and I still immediately go to, I am the sun, I am the air, of a shyness that is criminally vulgar.
I guess that's how you know that they picked a good opening song.
I mean, they just took it from The Craft, but... But yes, it's a great opening song, and it has a real witchy feel to it, so...
Well, it's like... Veronica Mars immediately just kicks me into the Dandy Warhols We Used to Be Friends.
A long time ago, we used to be friends. God, that is like Diminishing Returns the show.
Okay.
Like, I think Sabrina the Teenage Witch is the only other show that has such a noticeable drop in quality as each season goes on. Because, like, the first season of Veronica Mars is near goddamn perfect. Very transphobic joke aside.
Well, so this is the problem with a lot of shows around that time period. I feel like there was a huge number of shows. Veronica Mars is one of them. Another one I would name is Heroes. Another one is Desperate Housewives, where the creator came in with a concept for the show that was like overarching for the season. They got to the end of the season, and then they had to come up with another concept, and they'd already used their good concept.
Yeah, I mean, I think Heroes also had writer's strike issues.
It did, so yeah, it might have been better if that hadn't happened, but I just think the first season was really tightly written because there was so much time spent on it, and after that it was like, oh, now what? Same with Desperate Housewives, that first season is so tightly written, and then after that, oh, no, what do we do now? And yeah, that was the issue with Veronica Mars.
Remember in Heroes when Peter Petrelli was dating that Irish gangster girl, and then he accidentally leaves her in the future, and then and then he never mentions her again. He takes her on a time travel adventure, loses her in the future, and then never talks about her ever again.
I had forgotten about that. I forgot about a lot about Heroes. But after we're done with this recording, I think you should watch some more High Potential with me, because even though it's not about a teenage detective, I feel like it fills a lot of the empty part of my heart that Veronica Mars would fill.
I enjoyed the first 2 episodes, if only because it felt like a Jenna Maroney show, but like, they call me Alexis Good Looking because I'm good at looking for clues.
Yeah, I do like to pretend that that's Dee Reynolds acting the part. But no, genuinely, I really enjoyed that show.
I liked the first 2 episodes we saw. High Potential.
Yeah. Also, as a result of as the most recent episode of that, I realized that a trope I really like, that I had never really thought of as a trope before, is when somebody takes hostages and demands that the very specialized individual who stars in the show does their specialized individual thing, right? Like, the episode of Elementary where that happens, the episode of House where that happens.
I'm assuming Bones had an episode where that happened.
You know, I'm actually not sure if that happened in Bones.
Seriously? They had like 20 seasons.
Mm.
What about Castle?
I did watch all of Castle, but I don't remember. I'm sure it did.
Castle seems like the sort of show that immediately falls out of your brain as soon as you're not actively watching it.
Which is weird, because when I was watching it, I would watch Castle, I would watch Bones. They felt the same to me, but Bones stuck with me and Castle didn't.
Weird.
Yeah. Should we talk about Charmed?
Yeah, we should. So, Victor has arrived at the house. Piper lets him in, and he's like, "You're pregnant," which I didn't know, despite you clearly being very far into the pregnancy. do we not talk? This seems odd. Why would I not know that you were pregnant? And she's like, yeah, Leo's the dad, which is fantastic.
Well, I mean, I think it's just that's the relationship she has with her dad. They don't really talk a lot.
They just get caught up, and Victor's like, oh, I thought you two got divorced, except not really, because you never got real person married.
Also, didn't he die or something? I mean, I know he's already dead, but didn't he die?
And Piper's like, no, he moved on to being an elder, so, you know, we had sex once, and I got pregnant from that, and we're not telling him about it, so how are you doing, Dad? I'm kidding. She never asks about Victor.
She does say that, you know, Leo's not around a lot or at all because he's an elder now. And Victor's like, oh, really? Because he was around so much before.
And Piper's like, really? Really, Dad? You want to play that card? He's like, right, sorry. But look, I want to be around for you more now that you're adults and it's easier. And also I want to be around for, like, the new babies, because being a grandparent's way easier than being a parent.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so speaking of tropes I love, or I guess this isn't a trope, this is just my rule. Yeah. My rule is that if a character spend more than... Well, depending on the medium, right? For a TV show, if they spend more than 5 minutes of the episode fighting with the premise of the episode, then it's just so boring. We don't want to watch that. So...
I mean, one of the things that really worked about the movie Hot Frosty, which is way better than it has any right to be, is the bit where, spoilers for Hot Frosty, it's a very recent movie, but... I can't imagine if you're the sort of person who's going to watch it, you'd care that much about spoilers. So maybe...
Or that you haven't watched it already.
Yeah, so skip ahead like 30 seconds if you haven't. But the fact is, like, the bit where everyone in the town finds out that he's a snowman who is magically brought to life, and they all accept it immediately, and the main character lady's like, really? No follow-up? You're all just immediately accepting it? And they're like, yeah, we all accept it. Let's move forward.
One of the reasons I liked that movie so much.
Yeah.
Also, just throwing this out there, sorry to keep going on tangents, but this has been bugging me. Yeah. A lot of people on both my TikTok For You page and who have been showing up in my Blue Sky algorithm, wait, that's not an algorithm, my Blue Sky timeline, have been talking about Hot Frosty and how they really loved it, even though it's so terrible. It's like the worst movie they've ever seen. And
I'm like, God.
You are weak.
Babies.
Those people have not watched The Holiday Spirit. Those people have not watched some of the truly terrible holiday movies that we have watched. Hot Frosty is S tier when it comes to holiday movies.
They have not watched either of the Santa's Sons Need to Get Married or Else They Lose Their Santa Powers movies, including the one where Jerry from Parks and Rec has to talk Santa Jr. out of magically roofing the main character so that he can marry her while under magic mind control and thus keep his Santa powers.
Oh, or the one where the woman finds the letter to Santa that the kid wrote saying that he wanted his dad to find a girlfriend, and then she stalks them and becomes the girlfriend?
Yeah, that was the one with Fred, right, from Angel?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, or, God, there are so many god-awful Christmas movies. If you think that is bad, I'm sorry. You are weak. You are weak and will not survive the winter. The Christmas House. The Christmas House, where the mother is having a full goddamn meltdown every 10 minutes because no one appreciates everything that she does for Christmas because Christmas is the most special time of year and it's not special if no one's specialing how special she is.
Okay, and here's the thing. From this conversation, you might think that we hate Christmas movies and be asking yourself, why do we keep watching them? But the thing is, we love them, and the reason we keep watching them is because every so often we get Hot Frosty.
Or, it's not fair because it's a parody of but a very, what's it called, Christmas? The Lifetime Christmas movie that came out with Rachel Dratch like 2 years ago and Heather from Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. I've given you enough information that you could find it by yourself by Googling it.
Yeah, Rachel Dratch and Anna Gasteyer play sisters who run an inn.
Yeah, it's like a very Vandersmoot Christmas or a very...
Yeah, whatever their family name is.
Thundercrotch Christmas. Schmitty or something.
I think it did start with an F.
Yeah.
I could easily look it up, but I'm not going to.
Funterful. You can look it up. It's easy. Okay, so Piper's like, look, I called you not because I wanted to spend time with you, my estranged father, but because I'm having problems with Chris, the baby that is currently gestating in my uterus. She doesn't say that. She says, I'm having problems with Chris. And
he hates me, and I need you to find out why.
And Victor's like, how can you tell that your baby hates you? And Piper's like, he won't talk to me. And see if he'll talk to you. And Victor's like, he can talk? I mean, okay.
No, this is the thing. Victor's on board. He starts talking to her stomach. He's like, hi, Chris, why do you hate your mom?
He's like, hey, Chris, what's up? And Chris calls from the other room, hey, it's me, what's up? And Victor, first Victor's freaked out because he thinks that the voice is coming from Piper's uterus. But then full-grown Chris comes in the room. And I like this episode a lot. I actually really dig the dynamic that Chris and Victor have. We've talked about the limits of Drew Fuller's acting. Drew Fuller is in a sweet spot when he's sarcastic and detached from emotion. Having him be very cheerful is off-putting.
Okay, but I like their dynamic in this episode though, because it is true that a lot of times parents who were maybe not the best parents, the way Victor wasn't. I know. There's a whole thing with Graham's, blah blah blah, whatever.
Yeah.
Still wasn't the best parent, can like come around and be really stellar grandparents, and it shows with the way that Chris is like, oh, Grandpa, and he's just so happy to see him, and they kind of fall back into their dynamic, even though Victor hasn't met Chris yet. It's like it's there. It's a bond between them.
So Phoebe is having her high school reunion at a hotel, as one does.
That is a normal thing.
I didn't go to mine.
Me either.
I mean, we talked about this in the last episode, but I feel like that's less of a thing than it used to be, because, like, if you want to know what people from high school are up to, that's what Facebook's for.
I didn't go to either of mine, right? Because my 20 year would have been 2019. Didn't go to that one either.
Yeah, I guess my 20 year's coming up pretty soon. I'm not going to that either. I'm not flying, 3,000 miles to go back. Like, not worth it. I didn't have a bad time in high school. I had a nothing time in high school. Like, I don't know. I feel like you only have strong feelings about high school if you had a really good experience or a really bad experience. I went to classes. I hung out with people I never talked to again after graduation. Like, it was something I did for 4 years while I was waiting for college.
That's fair. Yeah.
So Phoebe has chosen to wear the weird white wedding dress, and dear God, you can see all of her nipples through it.
She's like, I want them to think that I'm nice and virginal, so I'm going to wear this very thin dress that shows basically everything.
Like, I don't know if this isn't because we're watching it in HD, but Jesus Christ, you can see her entire breasts. How is this on television?
Meanwhile, Paige, who I guess she brought as her date, is wearing the least flattering color on her. This very pale yellow that is not flattering. And this truly, truly hideous, fuzzy, cropped jacket that ties with a bow. It's not
What if the
okay.
Michelin Man was also a bluebird Muppet?
Oh, yeah, it's not a good look. But here's the thing about it. It's not a good look, and it's not a good look that really, really reads bridesmaid.
Yes.
So Phoebe is not fighting those I'm wearing a wedding dress accusations.
Can't look like I'm desperate or like I'm waiting for it. I gotta leave Warner his pride. So bride is more implied. Yeah. But yeah, Phoebe's nervous about it, and Paige is like, you murder people on, like, a weekly basis, right? And Phoebe's like, this is different. I can't murder any of these people. Which is true, I guess.
How am I supposed to make conversation with these people? I have nothing in common with them anymore. What am I supposed to say? I killed the president of Uruguay with a fork. How have you been? It's a line from Grosse Point Blank.
Yes.
The movie that you trashed at the beginning of this episode.
Oh my God, it's so boring. And everyone's at, like, a 2 the entire movie. You can't have a movie where literally every character is at a 2. So they get to the high school reunion. Phoebe, you could have just not come. Like, there's no good reason for you to be here. So, Phoebe gets confronted by a woman who has strong gym teacher energy.
Yep.
And she's like, well, Miss Halliwell, staying out of trouble. And Phoebe's like, yes, in the 10 years. In the 10 years since I left high school, I've, grown up and become a completely different person. I'm a very successful advice columnist. She's like, oh, is your advice about how to put drugs up your butt to sell them in schoolyards or something? And Phoebe's like, oh, God, this is going to be a whole evening of this.
Yep. Also, any person can give advice. She's like, I wouldn't see you as the advice-giving type. You never took advice. Well, first of all, that's exactly who gives advice.
Yeah.
And secondly, like...
Yeah, look at Dear Abby and her sister, Ann Landers. They hated each other. And yet, I'm sure they gave tons of advice on how to deal with your sisters.
Yeah.
Over the 80 years that they were advice columnizing.
So Phoebe walks into the ballroom, and there's like a walking into a saloon, music stops, record scratch moment. Everybody's like, oh, it's Phoebe.
Yeah, there's a shot of a guy's belly because, some people have gained weight since high school.
Wait, people have aged?
Also, I'm pretty sure people have bellies in high school, too.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's supposed to be like, time has passed and this man we don't know has a gut now, but, like, you can have a gut at any point in life. It's fine. It's fine.
So, Phoebe is then greeted by a girl who, I guess, Vicki Lewis wasn't available.
Yes. This is Phoebe's underling from when she was a bad girl in high school. She's Phoebe's friend who was the lookout while they smoked and stuff. I'm so distracted by the woman behind them wearing fishnet stockings over her arms.
No, she's just wearing a top that has mesh sleeves, as was the style at the time.
She's wearing that. She's got a brown leather bag. She's rubbing her eyes. There's a lot going on with this extra. It was the style at the time. Anyway, yes, this girl was obviously, a hanger-on who really, really wanted to be part of Phoebe's group, so she basically did whatever they told her to do so she could be part of the group. Yeah, she tells a story about Phoebe locking her in the trunk of the car so that she could go make out with some dude. And she's like, wasn't that funny? And Phoebe's like, not really. I'm sorry I was a huge asshole to you. And the woman's like, what are you talking about? You were my best friend. And Phoebe's like, I really regret coming to this.
Yeah. The girl's like, those were the best years of my life. And Phoebe's like, oh no. Well, American Dad has a good high school reunion episode.
Yes, it does. The one where Stan organizes the memories in his head.
That's a good one, but I was actually thinking about the one where we find out that the votes for
the prom queen one.
For prom queen were miscounted, and that Francine never should have been prom queen. Do you remember on a previous episode of a different podcast when you said that we don't quote 30 Rock lines all the time, and I haven't let you forget it since then?
Yes, are you going to do that with High School Reunion episodes?
Damn straight. And there's a nice convergence there, because now, every time one of us says, I want to go to there, I could be like, oh, that's from a 30 Rock episode. The High School Reunion 30 Rock episode!
To be fair, that was a runner in 30 Rock.
But that's where it started.
I also don't think that's a line we reference very often. I know, now it's going to be more...
We'll see.
I feel like it's more of a Jenna Maroney thing, or... So, the sidekick lady gets shoved to the ground by a dude Phoebe used to make out with in high school all the time.
Well, this girl was locked in the trunk.
Todd. And, Phoebe's like, where's the ringleader of our little gang? And the guy's like, oh, he tried to rob a liquor store and he went, to jail. And she was like, really? Did he really do it, or was he framed? And the guy's like, I don't know. I read about it in the paper. Like everyone, I lost contact with all of my high school friends immediately upon graduating.
Right. Facebook isn't widely available yet.
Yeah. I guess that's not true for everyone, but yeah, I personally, I think I hung out with the people I hung out with in high school maybe 2 times after graduating, and then that kind of just stopped.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this in the last High School Reunion episode that we did, but...
That was like 3 years ago. It's okay.
From high school, I have one friend who I will text every couple of years and be like, hey, because we were theater kids together, and be like, hey, remember that wild thing that happened when we were in theater? And then my best friend is still my friend from high school.
Yes.
So I'm still in touch with him. And his ex-husband, who he met and married right after college, but yeah. So those are the people from high school I'm still in touch with.
I think a couple of people from high school like pictures of mine that I post, like of our kid sometimes. I think that's the most contact I have with anyone from the high school I went to.
Someone I went to high school with is a writer now, and I'm actually really, much like Phoebe, right? Except she's a good writer. I read her columns when she posts them to Facebook, and I see them. And they're really good. And she wrote a book. I was in the bookstore, and I saw it on display, and I was like, oh, I should get her book. And I picked it up, and I'm like, oh, that's hardcover. I'll wait for paperback. So that's...
that's the level of friend she's at.
Yeah.
So they have the little awkward, I guess we're all older now or whatever, pause. And then Todd's wife comes up, and she was a mean girl or actually, I guess we're just assume that she's a mean girl.
Because she's blonde and is mean to Phoebe.
Yeah, because she comes up and she starts in on a mean girl routine, but I guess she could have just been a regular person in high school, and now she's mad to see someone she hated.
Yeah. Also...
This is where the little, you may have fooled all of San Francisco into thinking that you're so clever and empathetic, but I know that you're just a shallow, awful person who loves having sex with other people's boyfriends. They may see you as Ask Phoebe, but we'll always know you as Freebie.
But the idea... Okay, so Todd, the guy that Phoebe used to make out with, did marry his high school girlfriend, Paula. Like, that's weird.
That is weird. Especially
because he's a lawyer, so he went to college, he went to law school, and he stayed with the same woman through all of that. Here's the thing. When you are 18, you are cookies that are not done baking yet. So it is highly unlikely that the person you are with when you are unbaked cookies will still mesh with you once you are both, fully ready for devouring. So... So it's weird.
It's a fun second take on that Buffy metaphor.
Thank you. So it's weird that he went through all of this cooking process of college and law school and still stayed with this same woman.
A woman he does not appear to like.
He is okay. We didn't say it, but when he was talking to Phoebe, he was heavy flirting with her. He's like, "I read everything you write, Phoebe." Like, dude, you are married. Keep it in your pants.
Or get a divorce.
Yeah, I guess.
This is a 10-year high school reunion. I think everyone should be rounding their first divorce at this point.
Fair.
I mean, Phoebe's already one in, right?
Oh, yeah. Yes, she is.
So, Phoebe runs crying out of the hall, and Paige is like, what the fuck? Why didn't you just tell her to shut up? You're, a real badass. And Phoebe's like, bleh! And she morphs into high school Phoebe briefly, and then she unmorphs into high school Phoebe. And Paige is like, oh.
Oh, this is bad. Yeah.
And Paige is like, okay, so we should probably leave. As someone who's seen Carrie, both versions, I think we should leave.
I didn't... Well... Not to preview the time freeze, but here we are. Okay, yeah. Moving on.
So back at the Manor... Chris is having a weird 3-way date with his mom and grandfather. He and Victor are talking over coffee. Very, very empty coffee cups. You got it into my head and now I can't not see it.
It's really annoying.
But Victor's like, so in the timeline you're from, we're close? And Chris is like, yes, after the event, you were really there for me. And Piper's like, what event? And Chris is like, shut up, Mom! You were never there for me because of the event!
She's like, is this the event that made you hate me? Did I do something wrong to cause the event? And it's like, oh my god, it's obviously your death, Piper. Oh my god.
It could not more clearly be your death. So, so Piper storms out of the kitchen because she's upset that Chris won't tell her what the event is. Victor follows her as Phoebe and Paige are coming in. And Phoebe's like, Daddy! And hugs him. And Paige is like, yeah, no time for this. Shut up, Victor. Phoebe's doing some weird thing where she's shifting back and forth between her high school self. So I'm going to deal with that. You know, did any of you... Are there any B plots that might be the cause of this? Or is this just all a Phoebe thing? And Chris is like, I'm being hunted by scabber demons. And Paige is like, yeah, it's probably not that. Like, this feels more like a dumb spell gone wrong bullshit thing rather than a demon thing anyway. So.
Right, yes. So, Piper, as this scene wraps up, encourages Chris and Victor to go spend time together so that she can get some intel from Victor. And he's like, all right, let's go hang out, Chris. And he offers him a Cuban cigar that he just had in his inside jacket pocket. Like,
he's a business guy. Business guys have cigars. They smoke cigar. They drive car. It's what they do.
Right.
He works at the business office. He has a secretary. He takes meetings.
Works on that business case.
He was going to buy a ghost town at some point. Remember that episode?
Oh, God, yeah. You know, I've actually wanted to do that, though.
Buy a ghost town?
Yeah.
It's probably not that expensive.
I've looked into it. It's not. Anyway,
Phoebe is trying to hold things together in her bedroom, but her reflection is her high school self, and as soon as she notices it, it morphs back into her regular self. It's actually really good. I really like it. So, Phoebe calls Todd.
Todd called her.
Oh, yes, Todd calls Phoebe on her flip phone.
Because he's like, hey, where'd you get off to? I hope my bitch wife didn't drive you off. Come back and we'll hang.
Yeah, we can still have fun. Just because I'm married to a woman who hates you doesn't mean that we can't hang out.
Also, this must mean that in the very short time they were together, they managed to exchange phone numbers. And you know, Paula is right to be concerned about this whole thing.
Yeah. So, Phoebe's like, hey, Todd, was I a huge asshole to everyone in high school? And he's like, I mean, yeah, but we were teenagers.
All teenagers are assholes.
Yeah.
This is a true statement.
I feel like I had a relatively minor teenhood myself, and there are still many, many moments I look back on and just cringe.
Mm-hmm.
So, Todd's horrible wife notices that he's talking to a woman she hates, and she's like, is this Phoebe? What are you doing talking to my husband? And Phoebe's like, well, I'm talking to him to prepare him for when I have sex with him, because I'm going to have sex with him, you harpy. Fuck you. I'm coming over here to fuck your husband, you fucking fuck.
Yep, she fully transforms into high school Phoebe.
And Todd's wife just kind of hands him the phone and then walks off.
Oh.
Yeah. So, meanwhile, Chris cannot handle smoking. He is coughing a lot, which makes sense because I don't know. I feel like you would... Maybe he's used to vaping. He's
well, I was going to say, even between then and now, in the 20 years that have actually passed, right?
Yeah.
Smoking has become a lot less of a thing than it used to be, so it makes sense that Chris would be unused to it.
Yeah. So, Chris is completely unwilling to, talk about his mom's imminent death, but he's like, hey, Victor... hey, Grandpa, because he immediately jumps on the Grandpa train. It's weird considering how secretive he was about his identity for no good reason for the first many episodes of this season. But he's all on the grandpa train. He's like, "Hey, Grandpa, I know I'm not telling Mom about her horrible death, from when I'm 14, but you are going to get cancer if you keep smoking. Stop smoking now or you're going to get cancer." And Victor's like, "Oh, okay. Cool. Thanks for the heads up on that."
I mean, for someone who broke his parents up without you know what? I answered my own question before I even started to say it.
Yeah.
I was going to say, for someone who broke up his own parents without thinking about the implications, he sure is being cagey about saying stuff now, but I guess that just is because he learned his lesson. Because of the whole almost not existing thing.
We're over that hurdle at this point, Chris. Come on.
Oh.
Do you think if you tell your mom that she dies when you're 14, she's going to die earlier? Or are you concerned that she will do something to prevent it and she will be around more?
Right. What if you go back to a future that's better? Wasn't that your plan?
Yep. Yes. You'd think you'd be a lot more free and loose with the information now. You literally came back to change the timeline. You know who didn't worry about changing the timeline? Rachel Summers. When she came back, she told everyone everything immediately. I mean, she didn't tell her uncle that she was responsible for killing him, but I mean, that's not necessary information.
Yeah. She didn't want to share that information.
Yeah. So
Phoebe returns to the reunion
in all of her high school glory, and Todd's like, "Are you wearing a wig?" Which I think is fantastic, because she had the short hair. She starts making out with Todd, and then Todd's wife shoves her to the floor.
Okay, here's the thing. Paula is totally out of line here. Because this adult woman showed up, you were mean to her, she disappeared, and came back in her high school outfit with her high school hair, and started making out with your husband. Your first question should be, are you okay? This person is clearly in the throes of some sort of breakdown.
Yes.
You don't shove someone like that. Let's be for real here.
Mm-hmm.
Are you okay? Is a devastating response anyway if somebody's trying to hurt you.
That is yes. But no, nothing says I hate you like physical violence. She shoves Phoebe to the floor. Phoebe gets up, ready to kick her ass, and her sidekick comes in and she's like, "Phoebe, no. This isn't high school anymore. You can't just physically assault people." I mean,
as was the style at the time.
You really shouldn't have been doing that in high school either, but Phoebe's like, "Oh, I don't need to physically assault her." Paula goes off on this thing about how Paul's a personal injury attorney, so let her beat the shit out of me. I'll get all of that sweet Ask Phoebe money. And Phoebe's like, I don't need to physically assault you when I can magically assault you. And she turns her into a dog.
She calls her a bitch and turns her into a dog.
She says, "You may be rich, but you're still a bitch." And again, rhyming. Was this supposed to be an accident, or was that an intentional thing?
So that one was an accident, but then she turns to the rest of the crowd and she says, she does a little couplet, like the past is future, the future is past.
Let's all party our asses off.
Let's all turn back into the senior class, and everyone becomes their high school self.
Yeah, we're going full band candy here.
Mm-hmm.
Which, you know what? Iconic episode of Buffy. Way worse things you could rip off.
Okay. So now there are people graffitiing the walls, literally swinging off the chandeliers, like...
A dude is breakdancing.
Okay, well, that part doesn't fit into the thing I was about to say.
Oh, sorry.
Which is... Okay, but you've met people before, right? Like, you theoretically had a prom without destroying the gym. Why is turning them into high school students turning them into, like...
monsters.
Feral creatures, yes.
So Phoebe and Todd are making out underneath the table, and she's like, "You concerned about Paula?" And he's like, "Nah." Which, how did they get married after high school? If he's reverting to his senior thing, but yes, no. everyone is being wild. People are throwing other people, which is fantastic. It's just, I guess, the thing to make it seem like it's naturally escalating, but it just keeps happening.
So Paige orbs back in and immediately calls Piper. She's like, so the good news is I found Phoebe, and the bad news is literally everything else about this situation.
Yeah, clearly some magic shenanigans are going on. Everyone is partying the fuck out, and like, it's bad, man. And she sees Phoebe running off with Todd, and she hangs up on Piper. See, they're just throwing people. They keep throwing people. She hangs up on Piper, who's eating a thing of ice cream, and Piper's like, I bet that'll resolve itself.
The plots didn't seem to intersect this week. I'm sure it's fine. Paige has it under control. The girl who was the hanger-oner runs after Phoebe and Todd. And I also just want to point out that she was making out with the DJ, who presumably was not a member of the senior class, so was not affected by the spell, but he just kept going. So you know what? Good for him. He just kept spinning records. And also he was like, okay, this woman wants to make out with me. I'm down with that.
I'm sure if he DJs a lot of high school reunions, this is not an unusual occurrence for him.
That is a good point.
So someone has called the cops, who have shown up in full force for some reason. There are a lot of cop cars.
Well, we did see the gym teacher in the back freaking out, so she's probably the one who called them, and she probably...
I'm just saying, this is not my experience with calling the police after an emergency.
Yeah.
And this is such a mild emergency. This feels like a massive overreaction. But yeah, the cops have come to break up this adult prom, and Todd immediately pitches stealing a police car, and then they just do it. So I guess they really were the bad kids in high school.
Like, if I reverted to my high school self, I know that I have said on this show that I was not the coolest kid in high school, and it's definitely true. But stealing a cop car would not have been a thing that I would have just been with my friends in the stairwell making fun of everybody else.
Yeah, that was quintessentially my high school experience too. Or I think we all just would have gone somewhere.
Exactly.
Else,
we'd have been like, oh, fuck this, let's go to Denny's.
Yeah, we went to, not to dox myself, but we went to a diner called the Parthenon, which was really close to the movie theater. So it was kind of I was going to say trifecta, but that's two things. Bifecta of places you can hang out as a teenager for very little money.
Okay, I kind of want to write a fan fiction that is about the theoretical theater kids that were in Phoebe's class and what happened to them when they were under this spell.
Are we gonna... No, we can't. Wicked has just been released, and it has created a strong discourse about theater kids and singing in theaters.
It's not the theater kids who are singing in theaters. We know how to behave in a theater. All right.
So Victor has taken Chris to a fancy restaurant to, I guess, impress him. This really must feel like a date for...
Yeah, he brought him to like a super fancy French restaurant, like where you bring, like you said, a first date that you're trying to really impress. It's like, dude.
Yeah, come on. And the waiter is being such an asshole to Chris. Like, Chris is...
That's part of the experience.
Yes.
French waiters in French restaurants are supposed to be dicks.
And Chris is like, What are you doing here? This feels kind of weird. And Victor's like, I'm just trying to be cool. You have to tell me what I did to be cool in the future. Because, like, all of my children hate me to varying degrees. Like, I do not have... I know, Phoebe aside, I have not had good relationships with my kids. What did I do that made you like me? And Chris is like, you were just literally physically there for me. Like, you were there. We hung out. You let me talk about the crap that was going on in my life. Like, it's not that complicated. And Victor's like, okay, so if I was this big supportive person who let you talk, why don't you talk to me about what your issue is with Piper, because you're really hurting her by ignoring her like this. And Chris is like, okay, fine, she died. When I was 14, she got killed by a demon, and
Yeah.
I don't know how to act around her.
Yeah, and I mean, for the last 6 years or so, he's been having to deal with not having a mom. He can't emotionally cope with having her act like a mom now. Like, it makes sense to me. Except he really... fuck the timeline, communicate that to her. Come on, man. Come on.
Yeah, and, you know, to give Drew Fuller credit, yeah, this scene really works, because he's like, look, as soon as I can be sure that I've created a timeline where Wyatt isn't evil, I'm going to have to go back to a place where she doesn't exist. So I can't let myself be emotionally close to her, because I know that this isn't going to last. And Victor's like...
Or you could just save her. I mean, come on.
Also, this hits Victor. You have to remember, he already lost one of his children. Like, This is a devastating thing for Victor. But it's nice that he doesn't have a... Like, it's just face acting, which is nice. He's letting Chris have the emotions, but you can see how it's affecting him. Acting is reacting. This is nice. This is good. So... Phoebe and Todd have taken the police car to a warehouse, an alley warehouse, a warehouse alley.
Abandoned warehouse, garage.
And they're trying to think of something cool, because this is a special night and Phoebe has magical powers. And the sidekick girl is like, why don't we bust Rick out of prison? He always had cool ideas. Like...
Luckily, apparently he was arrested, like, recently, so he's not in prison yet. He's still in jail, so it's well within Phoebe's power to break him out. If he was in prison, oh.
Also, I just want to put this out there. Phoebe is so much more competent with her magic in this episode. Like...
it's because magic is based on your emotions, and she's full of hormones now, so her emotions are stronger, which means her magic is stronger.
I'm just saying, we're seeing a lot of really good utility spells.
Mm-hmm.
So, back in the attic, they're flipping through the book to try to find the spell that Phoebe cast on herself when Chris orbs in with Victor, and Victor is physically nauseous from orbing, which we saw once with Piper the first time Leo orbed with her, and then it hasn't come up since then.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if it's the sort of thing you just get used to really quickly.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, so they fill Victor in on the situation. Phoebe has reverted to her teen self, but she has her full adult self powers. She cast a spell on her whole class that's making them act like teenagers, etc., etc.
You know, Piper, just throwing this out here, but this episode feels like a good argument for binding your kids' powers.
Yeah. Chris apologizes for being such a huge douche to Piper, and Piper's like, wow, that must have been quite the talk you and Dad had. Which, yes, Piper, it was. And, Victor guides Piper off because she's feeling a little woozy, you know, pregnancy.
Pregnant.
Good timing on their part, because a couple of acid-spewing demons teleport in and spew acid at Paige and
Chris.
Yeah, because they're trying to kill Chris. It's the guys who are trying to kill Chris. Piper can't blow them up. I do kind of like this. She tries to blow one of them up, and it just kind of turns into acid and then recoalesces. I'm like, oh, that's neat. I buy that.
Yeah, apparently the only thing that can kill it is its own acid, and I like that when it turns to spew acid at Paige and she orbs its acid back to it, but she doesn't call it acid, she calls it icky stuff. Icky stuff!
If it works, it works. So the other one blorps out, and Piper and Paige have the exchange we just had where Piper's like, icky stuff, and Paige is like, it worked, okay? So Chris apologizes, and Piper's like, it's okay. Kids are messy.
You're my child. I'll forgive you anything now. Unfortunately, the crystal they were using to scry for where Phoebe had gotten off to got destroyed by the icky stuff. So now they have no idea where she is. And where she is in county lockup. And even though it's like, at this point, it's got to be like the middle of the night.
Yes.
Even though at this point it's the middle of the night, the fact that Phoebe glamoured them all to look like professional adults and say that they are his lawyers, they were allowed to see him.
I mean, he pointed out, he's like, it's really late. What are we doing here?
I guess magic or whatever.
Yeah. He says, you don't look like much of a defense team to me, which, yeah, they look like lawyers do.
They do. Also, you're accused of robbing a liquor store. There are 3 people here. That's like...
He is rightly suspicious, and Phoebe unglamours herself and the other 2, and he flips out. He's like...
Rightly so!
Yeah. He's like, oh shit, magic's real. That's... What?
My entire worldview has changed.
Although he leans in on this pretty quickly.
Again, this is one of the things I like about this episode. It takes him about 5 seconds to come to terms with what reality is.
Yeah, like the guard comes in because he hears him freaking out, and he hits the guard with a chair, and he's like, tell me how you did that. And Todd's like, Phoebe's got magic powers. She can do magic.
And Rick's like, okay, let's do magic then.
Okay, like he steals the guy's gun, and the sidekick girl's like, we just came in to say hi. And the guy's like, no, that's not what we're doing. You are using your magic to break me out of here. Come on.
Okay, I do like that he immediately gets on board with magic being real. Yeah. I do think, and this isn't a plot hole or anything. This is just because, people do unintelligent things. But maybe don't grab and hold and try to force the woman who
the woman with literal magic powers.
Yeah, to do what you want her to do. Like maybe that's not so bright.
So they go back to the warehouse. Phoebe glamoured the guy to just look like a cop, but she breaks the glamour as soon as they're back out. He is still wearing the cop's clothes, though.
Yeah, so he must have stolen the clothes.
Yeah. So he's like... So everyone else is kind of bummed, but Rick, the criminal guy, is like, come on, this is awesome. We're going to have fun like in the old days.
He's also like, we didn't do anything wrong. We just used magic. It's natural ability. It should be fine.
He claims that he didn't actually rob the liquor store and that he's innocent and none of them are buying it.
He says, you guys know me. I wouldn't hold a gun to people to force them to do what I want. They're like, you're literally doing that right now with the shotgun.
Yeah. But teenagers are dumb. So they turn to Phoebe and they're like, should we let him do whatever he wants? And yeah, they're gonna let him do whatever he wants. It's 2 against 1, where Phoebe is the reasonable one who's like, hey, maybe let's not hang out with the guy who pointed a gun at us.
And it's not even that. She's like, my empathy power is telling me that he is a bad dude.
By the way, I also have an empathy power.
Oh. Meanwhile, back at the manor, Piper is hiding Chris because he's got to hide from that one remaining acid-spewing demon.
Yeah, she put a bunch of crystals around the room that should protect him and block him from the whatever evil scrying these demons do.
Yep, that always works.
So Chris is like, Piper, you can't fight these demons. And Victor's like, stop yelling at your mom. And he's like, I just don't want anything to happen to her. And Piper's like, okay, so something happens to me in the future. And Victor's like, yeah, basically. And Piper's like, when do I, you know what? No, don't tell me. I don't want to know. But is that why you're so weird around me? And Chris is like, yep.
I would point out that Chris doesn't have to be weird about this particular thing, though.
Yeah.
Because he's here.
Yeah.
So she's going to be okay for the next 4 months. She can go fight this particular demon.
Yeah. And Chris is like, look, I can't tell you more about what kills you because it might make the timeline worse. And Piper's like, yeah, but also you came back in time to change time. So it's entirely possible that just by interfering with events to the degree that you did, you've already changed the future so I don't die. So, you know, what are we going to do? Come on.
Also, you know what really might help Wyatt not go evil?
If his mom didn't die.
Just throwing that out there.
I mean, his mom is Piper.
Wow. You know, usually I'm the one who's harsh on Piper, and you're the one who's like, yay, Piper.
Oh, no, I love Piper, but that doesn't mean she's not evil. In fact, I love Jackass Piper from the later seasons, possibly more than I love reasonable Peacekeeper Piper from the first few seasons. I am in it for Piper.
So, meanwhile, the Apple Dumpling gang over here.
Oh my god.
Rick is like, okay, well, now that we've got magic, let's go rob an armored truck. And they're like, wait, you said that you weren't an armed robber. And he's like, that was before I had magic. Now let's go steal a bunch of money.
We've got Phoebe on our side, so it's not like it's a real crime. And everyone's like, yeah, no, we're not gonna do that. Come on. And he's like, I think you forgot that I'm holding a gun. And Phoebe's like, I could get out of this situation so easily if I wanted to.
She really does let it ride for a long time.
Like, yes, he's pointing a gun at them, but Phoebe, you could just repeat the, what was it, like, you may be rich, but you're also a bitch.
I don't think that would work with him because he's not rich.
Yes.
But she does get angry enough at his irresponsibility that it turns her back into normal Phoebe.
Yeah, he knocks out Todd with the gun, and then she's like, I kill demons. She florps back into regular Phoebe, and she's like, I kill demons every day. You think I'm scared of you? And I'm sorry, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. Piper pulls her back because remember, we're at the point in Charmed where anyone can do anything all the time.
I thought that was Paige pulling her back with orb powers.
No, it's the white.
Oh.
It's the white teleporting light you see when the good guys are using teleportation, but they're not white lighters.
Oh, okay. Anyway, yes, they summon Phoebe back, and she's like, no! I gotta go save my friends from the guy with the gun. Send me back! Send me back!
So they send her back, and she's like, okay, let's take care of this. And he's like, yeah, no, I buried What's-His-Bucket alive. I'm sorry, I buried What's-Her-Bucket alive. So if you ever want to see her again, then you're going to have to do whatever I say. And Phoebe's like, I mean, I have magic. I could just,
Scry for her?
Yes, I could. There are a ton of things that I could do to resolve the situation, but fine. Let's just let this play out. To call a lost sidekick.
Yeah, there you go.
So Phoebe tells him, look, you don't have to do this. Like, they're driving up to the armored truck. It is the next morning, apparently.
Yeah, they've been doing this shit all night long. Remember when we were in our 20s and you could go all night?
Oh, God, yeah. I think about, like, how late I used to stay up for no reason. Couldn't possibly do that now. So Phoebe tells him, look, you've got a choice. You don't need to do this. And he's like, oh, I could go back to jail, or I could be free and rich, for the rest of my life. That's a choice. And she's like, you did rob that liquor store. And he's like, yeah, you knew that. You all knew that. That was never in question. And she's like, you haven't changed. He's like, you change. You're not like...
You used to be cool.
Yeah. You used to be cool, and now you're just a weird omnipotent magic lady.
Who doesn't want me to rob an armored truck for some reason?
He came up with a pretty complicated plan. Apropos, like he found out magic was real, and he's like, okay, this is what needs to happen. We're gonna rob an armored car, and then you're gonna magically give me a new identity, and yeah.
I think that he was probably trying to come up with a plan to rob that truck already when he got caught for the liquor store robbery.
He's like, what are you so nervous about? Like, because she's like, I don't know if this is gonna work, and he's like, you have magical powers?
She's like, magic powers aren't like magic. I can't just do anything. I don't know. It's more an art than a science. And he's like, that's not what you said last night. She's like, yeah, because last night I was a dumb 18-year-old who thought I could do anything.
Yeah, the magic you saw was being done by an 18-year-old who didn't know that actions have consequences. And he's like, okay, but just do the thing I said. And she's like, roses are red, violets are blue. Set the guys on who are driving that armored truck on fire. And it works. But she's like, it was supposed to be an illusion. It wasn't supposed to be real fire. Which he starts beating the shit out of one of the guards with his gun. And then he's about to shoot him. And Phoebe tackles him, and they both reach for the gun, but he gets it first. Mm-hmm. And he's like, this isn't the first time I shot someone. And she's like, why weren't you in more real person prison?
I think he never got caught for the person he killed before.
So Phoebe casts a spell to make him hear police coming, which it feels like there were probably better spells he could have cast, like one to turn him into a dog or something. I'm not to keep going back to that. Piper turned one of the magic school kids into a frog when she was just a head.
Oh yeah.
You could have done that. So back at the manor, Piper and Victor are watching Wyatt sleep, and Piper's like, look, we just need to take these problems as they come. You know, we need to keep Wyatt safe. We need to keep him from becoming evil. We need to protect Chris from the demons that are after him, and we can deal with the fact that I die young later. And Victor's like, look, the future isn't written in stone. It's just such a nice scene between the two of them.
Yeah. And they're watching Wyatt sleep,
yeah,
which is nice.
They hear a noise, and Piper tells Victor to wait here because Wyatt's force field will protect him.
Stay here and let this infant keep you safe.
Okay, this is later in the show when Victor is basically the one who's watching Wyatt full time. One of my favorite things is when a demon attacks and Victor basically just picks up Wyatt and points him at him, and then Wyatt, murders the demons with his omnipotence. Because it is the thing that happens multiple times, and it's never not funny that Victor's like, oh no, a baby, you better handle the situation, literal toddler.
Anyway, the noise downstairs was not a demon, but in fact the Rick showing up with Phoebe, and Paige goes downstairs, and they, talking together, realize that maybe these two plots can converge.
Yeah, because
Rick wants a new face.
He wants someone young and handsome, for his new face, and Phoebe turns to Paige and she's like, what about our nephew? Which I feel like would raise some questions, but...
But they do. They make him look like Chris, and then the demons that were hunting Chris show up and spray acid on this, I will remind you, human person, even though he's an evil murderer.
Yeah.
And he just melts.
Yeah, he melts into a puddle of goo and former person.
And the demons are like, okay, well, Chris is dead, we can get out of here. Which, it struck me as odd that the demons are relying on their sense of sight to determine that it's Chris. Like, they don't magically sense him, they don't smell him, they don't
think it's weird that he's trying to defend himself by shooting them with a shotgun.
Who knows why humans do what they do?
You know what? I bet they were like, you know what? We can write this one off. We can tell our boss we did a good job. As far as we're concerned, Chris Halliwell is dead.
Yeah, that's fair.
But also keep in mind, they just definitely killed a regular human dude in a situation that they did not need to kill him. They could have very easily handled this without killing him.
That's why they had that line that he said to Phoebe where he said he's killed before. So that it would be justified to us, the audience.
Well, it's like in the Headless Horseman episode where like they established that the mugger who that kid accidentally got killed was a murderer, so you don't have to feel bad.
Yep.
To quote one of my favorite jokes from American Dad, the man in the closet was a murderer, so you don't have to feel bad for him.
There you go.
So it's the next day. Paige walks in on Phoebe flipping through her yearbook, and she's like, so did everyone forget everything as soon as the spell ended? And Phoebe's like, yeah, basically it's just everyone thought everyone got really drunk. Like, we don't have to worry about exposure. It's fine.
Okay, if you say so.
Definitely didn't get around to turning Todd's wife back, though, so, And Phoebe, it's supposed to be, I guess, a nice moment between Phoebe and Paige, where Paige is like, it's kind of nice seeing what a massive fuck-up you were as a teenager. Because, when I joined the sisters, I thought of you as this, like, super witch. Remember that episode where we switched powers?
Yeah.
I mean, bodies.
Yeah, remember when they had me, like, eating a lollipop creepily for the first half of the episode so that there would be something to establish that we had switched bodies because I'd only come on the show, like, 3 episodes prior?
Yeah. But, like, this is, like, now I got to experience what it would be like having you as a sister when we were teenagers, and that's neat. Whatever. We're at the actual emotional core of this episode. Victor and Piper are talking about how Victor's, going to be a bigger part of their lives now because they definitely need someone to babysit, and they have this guy who's a reoccurring character. It's not like they're bringing Daryl in for this, so.
And they can't just take Wyatt to Elderland anymore now that Leo's gone, and Chris will presumably be going back to the future at some point, so he can't babysit. And
Piper's still too magic racist to send him to magic school, the thing they established literally so they would have a place to send Wyatt.
Well, I mean, I know you say magic racist. I say maybe she should trust her instincts. Since it turns out that Gideon, the headmaster of magic school, is the person who makes Wyatt turn evil.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
So Victor tells her not to worry about the future. They hug, and Piper walks into the living room, and she sees Chris playing with Wyatt, and it's a really nice moment. It's a really sweet moment to end the episode on. I didn't think I would like this episode, but I really enjoyed it.
It's a good episode, and you know what? It moves at a good clip. We don't spend a lot of time with the high school people going, wait, how is magic real?
Yeah, everyone accepts everything at face value and moves forward.
Yeah, we don't spend a lot of time with Victor being like, wait, Chris is actually your time-traveled son from the future?
What? Sorry, what? Alright, much like the Charmed ones, we have our own power of 3. The first power in that pack is Premonition, who in this episode is, was, or will become famous. So that teacher who had strong gym teacher energy, I don't know her name, but you definitely recognize her as playing this exact character in a lot of other stuff, including in Buffy, where she was the nurse in the episode where the swim team become swim team monsters. I was going to say lagoon monsters, but they live in the ocean, so I guess ocean monsters, but that also has a kind of different vibe. They're creatures from the Black Lagoon, but, which is weird because you know who's in that episode?
Who?
Young Wentworth Miller, the Prison Break guy.
Oh.
Who you also might know as Captain Cold from The Flash, but probably not.
So her name is Mary Pat Green, and she's just like quintessential character actress. She's been in so many things.
She was also the secretary of that cult when Buffy goes to LA at the beginning of season 3. They double dipped on the actress, which is fine. You can do that.
She has 102 credits, and they're all like one episode of TV series.
You've seen her being the slightly butch, angry woman in a lot of stuff.
Just like reading down the characters that she's played. Matron, receptionist.
I think she was in Friends. I think she was a nurse in Friends.
She was.
She was a mean nurse in Friends.
Principal, nurse in General Hospital, nurse in another TV show, nun in American Horror Story. Yeah, so you get the idea.
You have seen this actress in something. That will take us to the second Powder Pack. Time freeze. What specifically dated this episode? I've seen both versions of Carrie. We're like, what, 4, 5 versions of Carrie deep at this point?
But also, nobody talks about Carrie 2 The Rage anymore. The fact that she would even reference that is what time freezes it for me.
Oh, is that what she was referencing? I thought, wasn't there like a TV movie around that time?
I don't think it had come out yet.
Because I'm not sure I'd call an original and a sequel both versions. Maybe she meant the musical.
So, Carrie 2 The Rage came out in 1999.
Okay.
Carrie, the TV movie, with Emily DeRaven. Huh. Anyway, that came out in 2002. So that had just come out.
Yeah.
So now I'm not sure which. So she could have meant the TV movie.
I think she would say, like, I saw that and the sequel. I don't think you'd say both versions if you...
Well, my time freeze was that people actually remembered that Carrie the Rage existed, and I had forgotten that Carrie 2002 existed, so there you go.
But there are more versions of Carrie now, and there still hasn't really been a good one since the first one.
Yeah.
Like, and you know what? Keep trying. Keep trying. But, like, I really thought the Chloe Grace Moretz one might be, but it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. You know what you could do? You could do a book accurate Carrie and cast, like, a fat actress, because she's fat in the book.
Yeah, that discourse always happens, though.
Yeah.
And yet the casting never happens.
You didn't think the actress that got to play, what is it, Artemis in Ready Player One, she wasn't Rubenesque enough for you? Isn't that the thing he uses in that book to describe all the time how Rubenesque she is?
Oh, God. I was actually going to mention a book called The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson, which is another retelling of Carrie that is quite good. It's a book, though. And you know what I was going to say? And Paige wouldn't have read it, but actually she might. No, that actually, now that I'm saying it, it might be up Paige's alley. Yeah, okay.
Also, a thing that you could do that would make it more in line with the books is you could actually have Sue be the main character, which she is in the book, basically.
Yes.
Like, the entire book is from Sue's perspective, not counting the epistolary parts of it that are, at the beginning of every chapter.
There's so much epistolary stuff in it, it actually might be kind of cool to have the movie be told as, like, Sue recounting it in therapy.
Yeah. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff you can do that isn't just, because it feels like all of the versions of Carrie, even the original, which is the best version, are just kind of killing time until the prom.
Especially if we learn that, like, she was one of the only survivors of it, and all of this misinformation about it has come out since then.
Yeah.
And she's, like, and like, through her, we start to see, like, what really happened. Yeah, no. Okay, you could do a good version of Carrie.
Also, I don't feel like any of the movies do that thing with Sue having the psychic connection with Carrie right before she dies, which I think is a really interesting thing that, I don't know, I'm assuming that Stephen King brought it back in, what's that book he did that's, like, about all of his characters kind of converging in a thing? Like, was it the Dark Tower series that has, like, all of his characters converging in a thing?
Does it? I haven't read the Dark Tower.
I also haven't. I'm pretty sure that he has a book or a series or something that involves all of his other stuff coming together, which is a thing that I feel like a lot of authors feel the need to do. Mark Millar did that. Apparently the Kick-Ass guy.
Yeah.
Because it turns out that Kick-Ass and Wanted and all of his other comics all took place in the same universe. And it's it's weird. I have no urge to read it at all. But it's apparently basically kind of him being like, I wrote a lot of really edgy stuff, and that was kind of stupid, and I feel...
Oh, interesting.
...over it now. Okay, spoilers for whatever the hell this book was, but did you read the comic version of Wanted?
No.
Okay, do you know the premise of the comic version of Wanted?
No.
Okay, in the comic version of Wanted, it's about a universe where at some point in the 80s, all of the supervillains teamed up, murdered all of the superheroes, and then used magic and dark science to rewrite the world so people forgot that superheroes ever actually existed.
Okay.
And they run the whole world, as the secret society, blah, blah, blah. But, and there are no superheroes, there are only supervillains. And it's about this guy who gets initiated into this, the fraternity of supervillains because his dad was part of it, and then his dad died. So he gets found by his dad's old apprentice, and she teaches him how to use his super murder skills, and he ends up super murdering a bunch of the other criminals, and, he runs the society now, and he runs the world from, thing. And he talks, and he's the worst person ever. He's terrible. And the book is about him killing slightly more terrible people, but over the course of the book, he's a rapist, he's a murderer, he's a blah blah blah. And the book ends with him being like, so this is my life, I can do whatever I want, I can do whatever I want to whoever I want, and you have to go around living your ordinary life. This is me, this is my face when I'm fucking you in the ass. That is the last line of Wanted.
Ugh.
Yeah. And the sequel series is basically, or the Mark Millar doing the big crossover thing, is apparently basically just 4 issues of Hit Girl from Kick-Ass beating the shit out of that dude, super murdering him waking up in hell, and then him getting super murdered in hell.
Nice. All right.
Because he's like, you know what? That was dumb. That was a dumb thing I wrote, and I feel bad that a lot of people liked it.
You know why?
Why?
Because when you're 18, 19, 20, you have ideas that are maybe not fully baked.
Yes.
And
hey, related it back to this episode. You brought it back. All right, the final power in our pack is telekinesis. What, if anything, genuinely moved you? This is gonna sound really weird.
Go ahead.
The scene with Chris and Victor where they talk about the fact that Piper died.
Why is that weird?
I'm giving Drew Fuller credit for giving me a genuine emotional reaction. We're very mean to Drew Fuller because his acting skills are limited, but you know what? It really, he worked here. He did a good job. You really get that this is genuinely hard for him, and that's why he's being such a fucking asshole all the time. Because he feels like he can't form a genuine emotional connection with all of these people he's lost, because it will make it harder when he goes back to a time where they don't exist anymore.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. For me, it was probably the moment in the reunion when the hanger-on girl is like, hey, remember how much fun we used to have when you locked me in a trunk? And Phoebe's just hit by how terrible she used to be.
Yeah.
That was, real moment,
God, and the bit where she's like, I'm sorry about how badly I treated you and the girl's like, why? Those were the best days of my life. It's, oh. So yeah, I think that'll about do it.
I think it will. The next episode we're going to talk about is Spin City.
Okay.
And the description from Peacock is, the spider demon
Oh my god, I'm so excited for this.
kidnaps and cocoons Piper and turns Chris into a spider.
Yes. This is when Chris gets his spider powers. Oh my god, I'm so excited to talk about this. All right, yeah.
So I think that'll about do it.
Yeah, I think that'll about do it.
Our show is partially listener supported. If you want to be one of the supporters, you should head over to our website, www.welcometotelevision.net, and click on our Patreon link. We'd like to thank our current $5 and above patrons, Beryl, Patricia, Rosa, Ryan, Maricruz, Benjamin, Kate, Jen, Dan, Anthony, Daniel, and Hippolyta.
If you'd like to support the show in other ways, you could rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It helps other people find the show.
If you want to talk about this episode or any episode of any television show, you can find us on Blue Sky at Welcome to Television, or you can email us at ilovetelevisionzines@gmail.com.
So until next time, I'm Max.
And I'm Tina.
And this has been Welcome to the Halliwell Manor.